24 hours later, and I still don't understand the Jaylen Brown trade. First off, let me start by saying something exciting. Obviously, you can tell the view is a little bit different. I'm trying a new angle out with a new light, so the lighting should look better in this video. So that is a positive. Thank God, right? The Jaylen Brown trade 24 hours later is still a really ugly trade for the Boston Celtics. If you don't remember what Jaylen Brown got traded to, he got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Paul George, a 2028 first round pick, a 2031 first round pick, and 2 second round picks. Super underwhelming package for Jaylen Brown, if you ask me. Both of those first round picks are unprotected, but if I think Philadelphia will be good in 2028 and 2031. Regardless if Joel Embiid is still there by 2031, what is that in 5 years? So Jaylen Brown will be roughly 34-ish, 34, 35-ish. Joel Embiid will be on the older side of 30. But this is still a great gamble for the Philadelphia 76ers. The Celtics, getting back to them, I hate this trade. I really do. And if you're a Boston fan, I don't blame y'all for being angry at this trade or trying to understand it. No matter what point of view you put this in, there's like, even now I'm still stuttering because there's literally no way you pull off this trade thinking you just got better or even in the future you get better. Let's say that it also came out reportedly that Jaylen Brown was up for an extension in the next 2 to 3 weeks here, like a $70 million extension. I personally would have just given him that extension if it was about money, or if the bridge was just too far gone, since his name was all in the rumors all the time, especially like this past one, the Giannis one really seemed to tip the iceberg over. I don't know. I think I would have done everything to just keep Jaylen Brown instead of get this package. And Paul George is still a great player at the end of the day, but does he really come in and change up what y'all were doing? Like, is Paul George about to come in here and let me rewind a little bit. Let me take it step by step. At the end of the season, after the Boston Celtics blew the 3-1 lead to Philadelphia 76ers, Brad Stevens came out and said, we're going to play different basketball. We're not playing the same type of basketball. We're changing it up. And now you got to ask yourself, trading for Paul George, does that really change up the style of play y'all were doing? If anything, I feel like Paul George is going to just do everything Jaylen Brown did except get to the rim a lot less and not be, I don't know, man, just not as good of a player as Jaylen Brown. Like, as good as Paul George was, especially when he came back from the suspension, he's just not Jaylen Brown, and that's all right. Paul George is 36 years old. Jaylen Brown is 29, finna be 30 here in a few weeks or a few months. I still can't justify this trade for Brad Stevens unless he has something in his back pocket that nobody knows about. I really don't understand it for the Boston Celtics. I don't. And like I was saying, I would have done anything in my power to have kept Jaylen Brown, even if the bridge was burnt. Like, even if the bridge fell apart in that relationship, I would have done everything, because I know for a fact y'all could have gotten more for Jaylen Brown. In my opinion, there was no way that his trade value was that low. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and Paul George. If you really wanted to trade him, I would have probably preferred to wait for in-season and see what it was. He could have hooped with the Boston Celtics for a little bit, bare minimum a little bit. And then y'all trade him in December, January, February timeframe if it's really not working out. If it was a money thing, I don't agree with it. I understand, hey, y'all have 2 superstar players on $60 million plus contracts. And in the second apron era, it's been hard to be repeated champions because you always kind of eventually, you can't pay everybody on the team. But to always start off with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that was always a great point. That was always 2 reliable things that you knew you could always count on. And they came out this morning, and there were a few reports that believed that The Celtics didn't believe they had a championship roster anymore, or the championship duo of both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown couldn't get it done no more. 2 years ago, they just won an NBA championship with Jaylen Brown being the Finals MVP. So that's kind of confusing. Y'all just won a championship 2 years ago with Jaylen Brown being your best player in those playoffs. He took a lot of pressure off of Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was also great, but all that pressure they were applying to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown just fed off of it, and he got the job done. Especially in some of the moments where Jason Tatum wasn't shooting the ball the best or just being an efficient scorer. Jaylen Brown took a lot of that pressure off of Jason Tatum, and now I feel like this puts a lot of pressure on Jason Tatum to really get it done and see what he's about. And now what they were doing in the playoffs 2 years ago to Jason Tatum, they're just going to be able to double down on that, because Paul George is really going to be able to take a lot of that pressure off of Jason Tatum the same way Jaylen Brown was. I don't think so. So, man, I understand the money thing, and you also get one less year on Paul George's contract, so you're gonna get monies off the book in 2028. Let's be real here. I would have had a out for blood Jaylen Brown, relationships not there no more Jaylen Brown over the best version of Paul George nowadays. And Paul George is still a good player. He torched the Celtics up in that series, but you're putting a lot of pressure on Hugo Gonzalez and Baylor Shireman, two people you didn't want to throw into that Giannis trade. You could have had Giannis for Jaylen Brown. Now you have Paul George and 2 first-round picks. Moving on to the 76ers, though. Moving on to the 76ers. Man, not only did y'all manage to get the Celtics' best player over the past year from obviously a division rival, but you got it for a steal. You got it for an absolute steal. And you do this trade every time, obviously. You know, it's not a every day you're not going to have a Jaylen Brown fall into your laps the way he just did. But I think this is a steal, especially because of Embiid. You know, the Sixers signed Paul George 2 years ago, and Paul George was supposed to be that guy that when Embiid was injured or just, again, in and out of the lineup, Paul George and Tyrese Maxey would be able to carry them until Embiid would come back. But Paul George and Embiid, they obviously both weren't the healthiest. And then Paul George also had that 25-game suspension with the whatever drugs it was. Just, it never really meshed over there in Philly because they just couldn't play. I think I saw a report. It was the 2 years of Paul George, Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. They only played a total of like 36 games together. This is insane. Insane. They played not even half a season together, only 36 games in 2 years. And I understand the first year of Paul George, they started tanking, and that netted them VJ Edgecombe. So that was a great pickup last year in the draft. But this is, like I said, you do this for Embiid. You do, because at this point, Embiid is injured a lot, and his trade value is really low. And I like what the GMs are doing over there in Philadelphia. You just ride for your guy. You ride for Joel Embiid. You do. And you do this for him because he's, again, not as valuable as a trade, and you're not going to get much for him nowadays. Y'all got away with highway robbery. From your division rivals. Dude, the East is so stacked. This year. You got Kawhi just traded back to, like, Jesus Christ, dude. And I like what Philly's doing over there. They picked up Dean Wade, and you got Jaylen Brown now. Like, they are real contenders. Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Maxey will be able to get you through the regular season, because if there's one thing Jaylen Brown does is he plays basketball games compared to Paul George. He plays basketball games. And you can't say that Paul George is going to play a lot of basketball games over there in Boston. It's scary, man. Again, if Brad Stevens has something up his sleeve, like, dude, shock us all, but it's not up there with the Luka trade, but this is like, so it's Luka trade worst of all time trade in NBA history. This got to be like a not close second, but a very, very far second. But it's in that category. And Brad Stevens just won Executive of the Year. Like, unless again he has something up his sleeves, I just wanted to come on here, be a little bit more calm compared to yesterday. Now that we've had a full 24 hours to really gauge and really had time to think about it, dude. This trade's just dumb. Like, I was so hyped yesterday, but I think that was more so for Philly. Like, Philly, you have a real shot at winning a championship. Any team really does in this parity era. Like, the Knicks really showed us all that, and it's not me saying the Knicks didn't deserve it because they absolutely did, but it's a testimony it's a testament to the parity in the NBA right now that teams really out there can make a trade like this and win it all. It's crazy. But shout out the 76ers for doing this for highway robbery. Like I said earlier, just an absolute finesse job from them. And Boston, you have a lot of ground to make up. You really do. You really do. But again, shout out the 76ers. I know y'all are excited for this season because I'm excited for y'all for the first time in a little bit, actually. Like, y'all were cool the past few years, but I truly think, this might be the year Joel Embiid finally hits the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly the finals. So shout out the 76ers and what they are doing. Keep doing awesome stuff. Boston, you have a lot of ground to make up.